Welcome to the 2022 SGA Election Forum. Just in time, you made it just right. So of course, we're going to be going over and asking all these candidates some questions. Of course, you guys here in the crowd, will have time to go and ask your questions as well. And we can really try to get some good answers out of these guys as they are running to represent you next year for 2022, 2023. So we are going to get started with our first category. That will be the Director of Spiritual Life. And our current only applicant is Joseph.
Thank you, Jojo, for joining us tonight. Your first prepared question is, how important is the connection between the Director of Spiritual Life and the Spiritual Development?
Sure. So I feel like that connection is actually a lot more important than people see it as. When you come along with a spiritual development office like Dr. Young, Moesha, Isla, and other them, you kind of find yourself in like a weird connection because you're running your events not through the spiritual development office, kind of through your own. Like there is the connection there, like what it kind of needs to look like, ideas for it, like people you should connect with, like people that you could connect with, like through the people in the spiritual development office. So I find that connection there is pretty important.
Your next prepared question, since service projects are used to serve our ENC community, what is one area on campus where you would love to lead a service project?
So I want to lead a service project that gives back to like faculty and staff here, specifically like the cleaning people that have been working here since like COVID started. Like they've been cleaning every building for like the past 2 years, like every day, and like I feel like we need to give back to them for what they've given to us.
Then, what is one new idea you have to reach out to students who don't normally attend?
Jeez, I hate unprepared questions. Anyway, one area I feel like we could do that in is kind of like Sarah's event, like Night at the 10. It's not really a new idea, but going along with the idea of that, kind of like doing sports ministry is like a good idea because a lot of our campus is athletes. And regardless if they have like a spiritual life or not, I feel like it's one big way that we could really push through to kind of get to them.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to questions from the audience. If anyone has anything they want to ask for Director of Spiritual
Yes.
Life. What is like one event that you'd like to hold? Or something you'd like to see?
So one event or like one thing I want to specifically? Okay. So one thing I'm planning on doing is I'm currently creating a weekly devotional plan. So at the beginning of the week, I'll release like a video of myself with a devotional for every student at ENC. Just kind of like a encouragement for the week or like something that people would want to hear or need to hear for that.
Yes, sir. Based on what's happening this year, what's an event you want to keep?
I think that's a great one. That's definitely like a keepsake. Like it's get to hear from. You don't usually hear from like Dave Edding. We got to hear from him the other night, and then you just get to have time fellowship with fellow athletes and like fellow students. And then what I'd get rid of, I don't really know what I'd get rid of.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience? Right.
We're going to move on with our candidates for Director of Student.
Hey. So, Katie, what has been one of your favorite events you've ever attended at EAS?
I think my favorite one has been coming from this semester, this year.
It was like the Mamma Mia theme, I was in it, and it was just really fun to see everyone because it was one of like the first big events after like since COVID hit and everything. So it was just really fun to see everyone coming together and just having a fun time and just kind of coming back as a community. And it was just really fun to plan as well. So thank you, Kimmy. And the next one, what are 2 events that you would like to see happen? One can be a previous event or the other one. Something that I want to continue doing is we've done one coffee house already, but we're planning another one, and I would love to do that again next year and maybe do a few more. I just think it gives people a chance to show off like their talents and like the things that they can do outside of just chapel, because there's not a lot of spaces necessarily for that on campus. So I think that's really important to kind of showcase students. And another one that I would love to do, I would love to do it in the fall, so it's warmer, but I would love to do the truck day and just have a bunch of different just a bunch of different like kinds of foods, like taco trucks and like ice cream. Like I know we've had like food trucks here and there for different events, but just maybe having all of that for like one day just in like one area on campus, I think that'd be really fun.
You're making them come back to campus. So for your unprepared question, with a year of experience already under your belt, are you prepared to serve the ENC community this upcoming year?
I think now I have more experience with like the background of events because I feel like a lot of people kind of just see you like set a date and like do all the stuff. They don't really see the background, and it is a lot of work and there's a lot of like kind of nitpicky details and you have to work around a lot of things. And I think it's after this year of experience, I've kind of understood like where that is. And like I have made mistakes this year, but I think I've learned from them and I can kind of do better next year around those things. And I also know kind of have a better understanding of like what students are looking for and like what they find fun, and kind of just like how to get the word out there, like the timing and everything. So I think just like the background of the events is gonna definitely help me with this year.
So now, audience can ask any questions they have for Kimmy.
Based on all the events this year, there's something that we haven't seen this year. Yeah. Or like a modification to it.
I mean, I know we did like the hiking that Blue Hills Day, and I know we did it on Wednesday because I thought like quite a few people could come, but I kind of forgot that there is some people that have classes. So I think I would like to do that one again, but on a weekend so that more people could come, get more people involved. Just because it was a really good time to get to know people that I don't really interact with on campus, and it's just fun to get off campus, get fresh air. So I think that's how we modified that one. Any other questions?
All right, we'll see no other questions. Kimmy, thank you. Next, we have a candidate for Director of Recreational Life, Ashley Caldwell.
Alright, so we're on to our first prepared question. If you were to introduce a new sport or activity to the ENC community, what would you choose?
Okay. I think I would choose like Zumba or yoga, just like to reach out to those who aren't like strong athletes or want to participate in like more sporty athletics. I think yoga and Zumba are things that you can just use your body to like dance and have fun, and yoga is a very like soothing kind of sport, I guess you could say. And especially as students, like having that time to like just kind of like relax and like take deep breaths and like use those as like platforms to like let out stress and emotion. I think that's a good way just
With the Director of Recreation position expanding to more than just sports over the last few years, what are new ways you would reach members of the ENC community that aren't normally athletes or intramural participants?
I think kind of like what I said, like kind of picking those sports that aren't like so involved with athletics is a good way to branch out to those who may want to still participate. I think another way you can branch out is like for spiritual events, like partnering with JoJo and doing like Midnight Madness. Like that's something I really want to like do this year, and I know it wasn't done this year. But just like partnering with spiritual development and like creating opportunities for like the speaker to come in and talk, and then after have like a halftime show and have like halftime or half court shots, and like just being able to reach out to those in different ways is really important.
And now your unprepared question. Given that you have served the last 2 years as the class of 2024 director of Rec Life, how has your previous experience prepared you to serve in this role?
I would say like, especially the COVID year, trying to get creative. I think it really pushed our council to like reach out in other ways other than just, hey, we can't play 5-on-5 basketball. How can we be creative and make a new idea? So I did Zumba, and we did it outside at like 8 o'clock at night on Saturday night. We had lights up across the gym wall to make like fun instead of the young team. And I think using like creative ways and having that like bad experience freshman year has kind of prepared me like, okay, you have to be creative in like thinking how you choose sports. So.
So
What made you want to run for this specific spot?
Okay, so my whole life I've basically like participated in recreation activities. My job outside of here is I'm a Quincy recreation counselor. So I basically, after school, sometimes from 3 to 8, I'm with children. I'm running dodgeball, I'm running basketball. I know it's not college students, but just having the background of like organizing and knowing how recreation sports goes, like you're there to like play. You're not there to win, you're there to compete. So you're not there like and to be champion. So it's kind of like fun way to do sports. So.
KP has a question. How might you consider incorporating student wellness into programming?
Student wellness.
Yeah, so that could be, it might have also been meant for Kimmy, but it works for you also. Like health and wellness.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think like personally, like as an athlete, having like a mental health talk or a mental health like athlete area for athletes to get together and be like, hey, like we know being an athlete can be hard. We know going to practice can be hard. Like how can we be there for each other and work together, and like what can we do about our diet? Like all those things, mental health, diet, they can go into the fact of the wellness of athletes and non-athletes. Any other questions?
Seeing nothing.
raised. Ashley, thank you. The race for the director of publicity, which includes Carrie, Rachel, and Tom. So give them all a round of applause.
Rachel, we're going to start with you. Using this position, what is one new method of advertising that you would implement for student government?
So a new method is kind of like bringing something back, but over COVID, EMC had a TikTok and they would use it to like interact with students who are online and also were on campus. But I think implementing that again and also getting like student involvement with it. So like actually the admissions does a great job at interviewing students, but I feel like to get word of mouth going about events, rec life events and spiritual events, being able to interview and get other people to do the job in front of the screen would be, I think, very helpful. And I think TikTok's a really good platform that most college students are using.
Yeah, great, thank you. Carrie. So I have an idea to use the napkin holders in the cafeteria to advertise for different events for the week. And I also would like to talk to the director of the CAP about this, so this would actually be something that we could do
if.
So I know we're all like constantly in social media, but I would also like to have engagement like in person with like students. So use tools that we already have, like use the booth more, like for example, give out balloons or like, I also had the idea of like having like a clothes, pen, like a wooden one, and just probably write like SGA event tonight and like bring it to someone. And then that person's gonna be like, oh, what is this? And then they're gonna be like, oh, there's an SGA event tonight. Or maybe just like using the TVs in the cafeteria for like while we like record someone talking about the event that we're gonna have, or just putting our flyers up there. And like I know that the cafeteria is like where we spend most of the time, like there's like where all the students usually go. So I feel like it's like a good way of advertising like what we want like tell the students. Thank you. Next question. What do you think is the most important form of advertising that SGA does? So I think Instagram is like the most used social media for advertising. And I think we can just like make it better or like by sharing reels or probably more videos to have like more engagement. Another idea I had was to like maybe adding a link for students, like whenever we have an event, students posting pictures about the event, and for like people to know that events are actually fun and they're just not hearing from like us SGA that the event is gonna be fun. So yeah.
I think Instagram is probably one of the biggest ways that I personally find out about events, and a lot of people on campus find out about events. I also think that word of mouth is really big. So just talking to people like, hey, coming to this event tonight, I think that's a big way that people know things.
Yeah, kind of similar. Word of mouth is definitely a big thing, but I am a huge fan of the toilet times. To be honest, I think that honestly it's the best way to go. And when it's up to date, it has everything on there. Like students are always going in and out of those bathrooms and in their resident halls. I'd love to expand that and make it even more further and put in as many bathrooms as possible, because to be honest, that's where people are gonna end up at least once a day. So, and then when you go to the bathroom, you see a friend, you're like, hey, did you see the toilet times? You know, I just think it's a great thing, and I hope keep that up to date.
Yeah, thank you. Now for your uncomfortable question, we'll start with Carrie. How have your experiences at ENC prepared you for this position? Well, I'm an education major, and so a lot of the work I do is kind of being creative and making different things for like my final senior portfolio, and so that's one way that I create. I also work in the speech development office, doing slides for Jackson. So I also experience.
For Rachel, how has your experience within class council SGA helped prepare you for exam next year?
So I think like having previous work experience working with other people within a council has definitely helped with my team strategies and being able to support members on my council and also be able to have support through the council. And my freshman year, I was actually the admin for the class, so I actually was running the Instagram. So I think a lot of ways in that way I have experience there. So it's definitely helped me with experience through media and also teamwork.
Then for Selma, what is it about the publicity position that inspired you to run for it?
Well, I think that like I've always been super passionate about like social media and like communicating stuff, and I honestly consider myself like a very creative person. I went for marketing as my major and I just feel like I'm prepared for this position because like I've been learning it day to day, like in my classes, and yeah, I just think it's something I'm really passionate like about and Now moving on to the audience questions. Anyone for this one? I have one. So, being in a position for someone, like I noticed that it's a job that's constantly changing, like with dates, times, people are like telling you like last minute things. So, how are you like planning to deal with that change?
mean, I think personally, just like being on class council once again and like being involved in stuff like Summerman. Summerman is very much last minute, and especially this summer was very on the fly. So I think I've been able to use skills throughout those times, throughout my summer, throughout being on council, to kind of like find ways to be able to also relieve my stress, but at the same time be very consistent with my work and make sure that I'm not getting too.
I think working for the Spearful Development Office, creating slides is definitely getting me to be more flexible and like be able to put out things quickly. Sometimes like 5 minutes before time, someone goes, "Oh, I have all my slides," and so it's just like something that I have gained and I have been able to do more flexibly. I've been able to be more flexible. So since the job is basically communicating stuff, I think I would like give my team that like come on like to be comfortable enough to like tell me, oh, tell me like I want to change this. And I think I would try to do it like right away. Because like I know we already communicate people like something and like there's a change, I think I should like do it right away. So yeah, I like working on like just do it right away so that way it's different. Any other questions from the audience?
I can share a question / information. It's on the job description. We haven't necessarily done it yet. But we're looking, one of the things I'd like to see us have publicity do is some more activity, especially along like current events, and to work along with Veritas, like the publications folks. And so there would be some like deliberate interaction between publicity and publications. I haven't necessarily fleshed out exactly what that looks like or what some of the possibilities could be. So I'm curious. What do you think?
Well, I think I agree with you. I feel like sometimes we're just like posting about events and like things that are going on campus. Probably we're not posting about like, oh, like I want to work with the Berkeley Center and like talk about like mental health. Oh, I want to work with the spiritual life and like share about this, or like be more aware of like what is going on like around the world and like not only just me.
Yeah, I think with Veritas, they do a lot of stuff with taking photos at games or at events. So I think definitely making connection between the both, having a strong relationship that you're able to interact with them. Be like, hey, I saw you taking pictures at that event. Do you mind if we use a couple of those to spread the word about this event and make it known that this is happening on campus? And definitely with the yearbook too, maybe like if we're at events taking videos and photos, being able to go up to Veritas and be like, hey, this event happened today. I have all these photos to share with you. Here you go. And you can use these for your articles, for the yearbook, or for anything that you guys.
Yeah, I think it would be really important to like connect the offices and just be connected across campus. I think that's really important. And especially for publicity, because then we can publicize those things that are happening.
Any more questions?
Seeing no hands, I think you guys are good. Thank you.
Next, we have the Director of Operations and Organizations.
They will.
Jesse, our first question is, what is one way the director to promote clubs or organizations on campus?
So I'm just thinking of like this year, kind of like my experience in the role. Within like the first few weeks of the semester, we had like the homecoming street fair, and it was kind of hard because we were like kind of getting thrown into the roles and trying to navigate what that was supposed to be like. Like it was the same night, obviously it's homecoming, so like half the council split up, but I just hope to like coordinate better and work more with the clubs to see what they want at the street fair and how they want to present themselves, to get people more engaged and more involved, because I think that's a great way, like right at the beginning of the year, hey, like you're new here, like for freshmen and also for other people coming back, it's this is what we have. And then I'm actually planning a club fair. When the week we get back, I'm starting to advertise it, like with club presidents and organizations and ministries. But I'd like to have that in the spring, and I hope that if it's successful, and I can learn from that and see what to do next year, if that would be something that works.
Given that the DOO role plays support to the rest of the council, how do you plan to support SGA in your role?
So I actually asked like some of my SGA members, like our counterpart, not my works, team members, basically like how they felt like I supported them in the role. I think it's good to get feedback about how you're doing because there's always room for improvement. But basically, just like being a positive like person, and making sure people feel heard, and just like while you take notes, it's like part of the role is like taking notes during meetings, and that's a really important aspect to reflect back on. So I just try and grab everyone's ideas and make sure that I'm hearing what people are saying. And I know it gets frustrating, but sometimes I'll like pause people in a meeting and just like, what'd you say again, to make sure I heard them correctly. So I think that's really important. And then also the part of my role is also, or the role, sorry, is also like office management. So like we created like an office cleaning chart to make sure it's like clean and we're doing stuff with the office. And I'm excited to see what people want next year, and I just want to hear their ideas.
Kind of going along with what you said, but how do you plan to continue the work you've accomplished within this past term into the next year?
I would say mainly just like individually, like meeting with like each member and seeing how I can better support them. Like, what things do you think can improve like the office? What ways? I'm hoping to pair with publicity actually a lot more next year, and getting better at like seeing what we can do for our counterparts in the admin role. But specifically working with like the activities council that we have on campus, and seeing how we can get more clubs like publicized in a way that gets more students and brings them.
We're going to ask, of course, go back to you, the audience. Do you guys have any questions for? Oh,
Hi.
How do you plan to incorporate clubs that are not simply under SGA, connect with them, and promote them?
I know, for example, currently you're in the president role of BSU, and then there's also ISO, which is under Multicultural Affairs, and we're actually in the process of pulling Asia Pacific Islanders Club under Multicultural Affairs, and there's not really leadership to that, but I think it's important to still meet with them and see how you can support them. So I invited, we have like a mandatory club meeting just to make sure people are being active, and like I invited the clubs or organizations under Multicultural Affairs to come and just see if like that's something they want to do. I'm actually going to be meeting with them each month too to see how I can support them. And I want to do that next year too, because just because like their finances aren't under SGA doesn't mean we can't support them and publicize them. Also like pairing with them at like SGA events. So if Kimmy or whoever the next person is puts on things to also pair and coordinate with other clubs and organizations to get the word out there and know that everyone's welcome. It's a place to like you belong in communities.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Jesse.
we bring up the Director of Finance, Mr. Chris Jaskowitz.
Chris,
Right.
if you shake the mouse, that'll go back in. Thank you.
So of course, these are questions that are usually, meant for a lot of people typically, maybe we're going, what is your previous experience with finances or budgets?
Yeah. So might be difficult to believe, but I actually am the current director of finance for the SGA Council. So I definitely I've worked a lot in managing the executive budget, which is a working, budget structure, consisting of this multiple different executive budgets that are specific to executive positions, as well as class councils and student clubs and ministries. So managing those collective budgets is really been my work throughout the semester so far.
Next question, how is budget management critical to the operations of?
Well, it's an old adage, not necessarily one that I agree with, but sadly factual in our world, money is power. And fact of the matter is that for an organization to make a change, finances is necessary. Now granted, is that the way that I wish the world were? No. But it's a fact of the world we live in today. So having a budget is extremely important because the students pay a student fee that goes to benefit them in their student experience. That's something that's really crucial. Every one of you as a student, there's a portion of your tuition, portion that actually is labeled in your bill as a student fee, that goes directly through into the SGA. A majority of it. There's some working where parts of it go different places, but a majority of it goes to the overall Student Government Association budget, which is meant to give back to you. And through that budgeting, these executive accounts and subsidiary accounts are extremely important so that you're able to benefit from the money that you're paying directly.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry, I lost my place here. What have you learned through your first year of service within this role? And what are you looking forward to do differently or similarly next year?
So one aspect that I definitely learned this year was the impact of change that I am affected. It's for being directly director of finance. It's kind of hard to, I don't run events. That's not what I do. But my realm is handling finance, right? So my ability to distribute and budget and assist in the management of those budgets is really crucial. Once again, to enhancing the student experience. That's the end goal of, well, in my opinion, the end goal of the position of director of finance and the overall organization of student government is to enhance the student experience. Yeah, I hope that. Oh, well, things I want to continue. Yeah, that's the second part, right? Things I want to continue. Definitely continue to be aware of our fiscal standing, and stay in constant communication with clubs, class councils, and the Department of Finance.
And at this point, we're going to be going now to the audience. Any questions they may have?
Yeah. Okay. In what ways, you kind of touched a little bit on it, but what ways will you use your position to provide for clubs to initiate change on campus? Because you talked a lot about how you think money is the foundation of organizations. So I want to.
So, well, I don't think it's much. In years past, clubs would get $100 per year, which I feel like is just inopportune. It's not effective to allocate $100 for a club per entire year. That's not the way. That's not how the world works anymore, right? 10 years, yeah, that would be enough. Now we're looking at a single small club event running a budget of roughly. So throughout last semester, we've doubled that allocation last semester. And this semester we've done it again. So the clubs are now taking away four to five times more allocated money than they were in years previous. And that's actually also applied to the class councils. Originally, it was $1,000 per year. Last semester, they got $1,000 just last semester. They're also getting an additional allocation this year. It's probably going to be around 500, so maybe a total 15. Once again, which is time and a half. 150% of it with return percentages. So yeah, it's definitely very important that we get the clubs an additional amount past of what they were originally expected, so they are able to put on these events that can, you know, reach out broader. In my opinion, once again, that's my mental realm that I can control. So I want to make sure I can do that. Thank you, Richard.
Good question. Any more good questions? Yes.
How about the next year? These things are happening.
Yeah.
Next year, this position is going to start having some financial programming.
Yes.
For students to have some like financial literacy, something. It just says financial programming. I'm curious any ideas you have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, Liz, and it's something that is a discussion based for that's currently going on in you know, in different councils and committees that I may sit as chair of the student body currently. One analogy that I'd love to use, and it helps click with our faculty and staff, is one that goes like this. If I was trying to run a basketball team and I didn't know what play to run, I probably wouldn't ever go talk to Dr. Dillon in chemistry. That would not be a good person to talk to. He just doesn't know basketball, knows chemistry, right? Vice versa, if I have a chemistry problem that I need to solve for my homework, I want to go talk to Lincoln Sharp. Vice versa, as a student, right? When you're handling your financial affairs as a student, it wouldn't make sense for you to try to go talk to someone that doesn't know financial affairs for in academia. Therefore, we're trying to open up these communication ways between the direct expert in the field. So with our accounting office, our student financial affairs office, people who actually know, hey, this is what a financial bill would look like, and this is how you would address it. We want to make those connections, because there's two things that we definitely pride ourselves here at ANC. It's our international student population and our first generation student population, right? Neither of those populations have the experts in those fields back home, right? So for international students, there could be a language barrier. That could be an impossible thing you're trying to overcome. So as a student, you need to talk to somebody that has a direct expertise in the field of finance so that you can better understand your own school bill that you're paying for. Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you. Is there anyone need clarification on that? Does that make sense? Okay. There's a lot of big words, so I don't know.
Do you have any more questions for Chris? Great. Seeing no hands. Thank you, Chris. A new position here in SGA. It will be Yana. Applying for the Vice President of Academic Affairs.
First question. So with this position's connection to the academic dean and the academics department, how can this new position better serve our student body?
Well, in the new position, like for SGA, I've noticed that you guys like act sort of like a bridge between, you know, residents and like student life and between, you know, higher ups, so like Bill and Boy or whatever. And so what I hope to do is that I hope to continue to be that bridge and to continue to make academics thrive, because that's part of the college experience, because you have, you know, athletics and like going to events and everything, that's part of the college experience, but it also includes academics, which are an important factor, because obviously everyone's here to get a degree and, you know, to get a diploma and everything, so. That's the bridge.
And with this being a new position, what are your hopes for this position?
Honestly, I'm just hoping to learn a lot from this position. You know, it is a new position, so no one's really, you know, done it before, so I just want to, you know, get my feet wet and have some fun, work on the council with everyone, so.
How do you plan to engage students that are struggling at
So I was thinking of working alongside with like events, like, you know, with Kimmy or whoever it could be, and like set up like study session events, like in groups and everything, to like really reach out to those who are struggling but don't want to ask for help, because a lot of people don't like to ask for help. They, you know, usually just be like, oh, I'm struggling, and then they just sink deeper in. So probably just opening up a space to be like, hey, like you can come to me, you know, I'm here, I want to help you. And opening up just like events for them to, be able to be helped. Awesome.
At this point, we'll know. Are you ready?
I was gonna ask, do you see yourself doing work for the extra management? And if so, like, how would you plan to do that? I mean, definitely, they're pretty much based on like academics and everything, so like, probably like including them in like maybe like the study sessions and like any other events that, you know, they would probably think of holding. Yeah, just probably like doing like check-ins with them too, because I know we'll be having like a lot of meetings, so like probably just asking questions and trying to see how I could be a beneficial factor to public meetings.
All right, any more questions?
Huh? Oh, did she ask? Wait.
Well, no, I asked you the question, to see if I should ask a question.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Who was
hold
the
on,
second?
hang on, we get time.
As you know, some activities you have on the library hours, and locally you can make that a better environment for them, or even have a different scenery, like what is your activity, incorporate that in their library activity? That's a good question.
So I've been asking myself, I have to go to study hall, and it's not the best time in the library because it gets very quiet and sometimes you may not have homework and then you accidentally fall asleep in the library. True story. So I think probably just changing the scenery. Like I know a lot of people, including myself, like to do more behaviors because, you know, it's a vibrant place and it's a lot better to focus and sometimes focus down whatever. So pretty much just trying to like go over the rules of like study hall with like, you know, say so you're like each specific team and seeing what we can do to like make it more engaging. I feel like that would be the best option.
You guys figure out your question there? No. Okay. Have any more questions?
I kind of missed what Jesse asked, and it might have been similar to what I was going to ask.
I just asked how, she planned to like be the bridge.
Oh, no, who's the other person who asked?
Sorry.
Tara, what was it that you asked?
I asked about what at the library hours, how she would incorporate it into that.
And then that was like bringing in maybe into Hebrews, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are there, what I was thinking was like, how do you get more people to want to go to the library for things? Or, so you kind of answered that. So you answered the like, okay, maybe we don't do it in the library, maybe we do it other places. Can you also think of ways that we might like get people to want to go to like the dungeon of the library to CSE where the most lovely people are?
Probably just try and make it more engaging. Like Hebrews is very vibrant and like, you know, very full of life, and the library is not. It's just a fact. So probably just finding a way to like find that middle ground where the library can also be a good place to go.
Yeah.
Don't know how that would happen. I'd have to like work with CSE on that one, but we can make it happen.
Curious if anything would draw people over. Any ideas?
All right. Final call. Well, good. That's good. Any more questions before we move on? All right, seeing no hands. Thank you. Now, of course, it's time for the main event. It is time for the two candidates for the presidential position. Tyra and Fernando. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ready? For some of you, what are some ideas to improve communication between the administration and the student body?
Well, I think some ideas that I have in mind myself, where I've already been in a position where I've talked to a lot of people here that have positions at ENC, like Ian Slater, Courtney herself from the CAF directorate, KP, like I make it unknown to myself to be like on a personal level with them, because they're always looking for like student feedback. Like I don't know if I've had a conversation with them, but they, like, although some of them are recent hires, they really want to like be part of the student experience and make the student experience better. So I've been working with Courtney herself to just improve the food menu. And I spoke with Ian about it too, and just like making it a personal connection between the two of us. And just, they're always looking for student feedback to give back to the students. Like Ian will always be walking around and like catch a group of students at Hebrews and be like, hey, can I ask you something? So I feel like when you have people already on a team that want to communicate with students, it makes it so much easier to allocate to students. A way that I would say that I would communicate with them to help communicate with more students would be like maybe them setting up a booth at Hebrews and like catching more students as they're walking by, or holding forums, which is something we did our freshman year.
Thank you. Then Tara.
What was the question?
What are some ideas for communication between the administration?
As we've all kind of said, Instagram is a huge platform. However, I'm big on personal interactions. Hebrews like that's a very vibrant, and David in CSE like in that dungeon of the library, he literally sits in Hebrews once a week and just interacts with students every day. Buys coffee, Jack buys coffee. That is one way I kind of want to improve that. I want every department to have at least a day out of the month just to sit there and interact with students. Even if it's in the class, even if it's in dugout, even if it's in the commuter's lounge, wherever they need to be, I want them there, because a lot of students are not going to just walk into a professor's office and talk to them. But we want that connection with them. We want that connection. So I think that is my biggest thing. Like, I'm big with talking, and if you're not out here talking to us, how can we know what you want from us? So that student feedback will come from them and from us if they're just in our general population as well. Even if they sit in Spanish parlor, even if they do a pool night with the boys downstairs, as long as there's some type of interaction, I think communication would be very much better. So yeah, that's the
Thank you. How will you balance leading and guiding things at SGA team and represent the voices of students at the same time?
If nobody like, I'm kind of exposing myself here. Excel is great. Microsoft is great. Outlook is great. Having that organization within yourself is so much easier. Color coding is easy. And I think that's one way for me to be better at, even with playing my own sport. Teamwork is a good way to even incorporate that and to balance for myself. And also, even though I'm the committee president, I have a team around me that's also there to help me. So that balance also comes from them and from me. And if they say, Tara, you screwed up, okay, that means I need to go check myself better. So, and if I'm too high, I will never be too high, I will never be too low. And I think that's just one way of me not being too stressful with a job, and also one way of me help my team.
I would like to add on to what Tyra said. I think Excel is a great like tool usage. I use it myself. But I just keep homework assignments in track. And then I have like my thing where I put like meetings and things that I need to attend. And one thing that Tyra mentioned that actually me and Liz had a conversation about was like, how do you help your team from something, from like the standpoint of view where you're not strong at? An example that I made was like, personally, I'm not someone who's like very knowledgeable in like spirituality and like religion. And that's something where like I lack, because it's like we go to a Christian college, like how do I help someone? And I was telling Liz about this, like we were having our one-on-one conversation. I was like, if I was to work on a team with someone, for example, like Jessie Willis, I know she's very like endowed with like spirituality, they just who she is as a religious person. I would like say like take a step down and be like, hey Jessie, what do you think about this? Like let someone else take the lead on something that you are not strong on. And I feel like especially in our society, that's a big thing, because although like you may be the president, like you're not always going to be like the most knowledgeable person in an aspect, and just knowing when to take a step back and letting someone else be knowledgeable or something.
How will you get student feedback to take action on new initiatives?
Again, everybody knows that I'm very outgoing. Not everybody knows me that type of way. whatever, not trying to be seated. It's just, I just like talking to people. A simple hello goes a very long way. And you meet people just by interacting with them. And also like understanding that because I'm an athlete, because I'm a science major, because I'm currently in the BSU position, I'm trying to attract people that I do not hear from. Everybody in this room I hear from me every day almost. But the people that I don't hear from are the people that I want to get to. So my biggest thing is I don't care if I have to knock on your door room and open door hours, like I want to hear from you. And I think a simple conversation would do that. Even if we have SGA nights where we're just in the lounge playing ping pong, if you're in the area full of people, it will create so much more than me sitting at Hebrews in a booth, wasting my time, like, hey, come talk to me. But you're really pressing to go to class right now. So that's not the opportunity to do it. The opportunity to do it is when you have everybody's relaxed, everybody's chill, everybody's no flashing lights, nothing like that. I have to go to do it more. And I just make it personal, and I'll have to give way more information out of that.
Fernando, how will you encourage the student body to participate in discussions of issues going on campus? For example, how will you encourage them to participate in the student senate and other discussion topics?
I really the student senate is something where it's like you want student involvement a lot of the times. And something that I like brought up with Ruth when I talked to her about it was like maybe if we have like SGA council go around like the dorms and like literally rally as many people as you can. Like sometimes you just really have to put yourself out there, even if you look a little dumb sometimes. Like just putting yourself out there to get people's attention. Like if you're running down the hallway being like, hey, come down to SGA, like we're having a meeting right now. Like I want to hear from you. Let's go to student senate. And just pick up some people along the way. Like eventually people are gonna start to realize that like, hey, like they really want to hear from me. Like they want me to be there. Like let me show up. Like people will make time for things that like you show you want them there for. It's the same way like children, like if you show them that you care, they'll show you that back. And it's like I think especially with college students, I feel like a lot of times people are busy, but if you open the window to something, I feel like a lot of people would come.
I'll open it up to questions from the audience.
Presidential role in the greater viewpoint of the public is seen as a leader, as well as words settings isolated to the council. What previous leadership experience have you guys each interacted with or each had at the beneficial role? And referring both in macro and micro situations.
Yeah, yeah. So for me personally, you want this like in ENC and outside of ENC?
Larger ENC and more intimate like SGA.
Okay, so a lot of people probably don't know this, but when I came here my freshman year, I was interested in being in BSU. However, BSU was not established as BSU. It was kind of it dwindled after like the last previous year classes. I kid you not, within that semester, I became a student leader. And from that student leader this semester, I was voted in into student senate on the council there. I think that pressure and that leadership and me having to move so fast helped me out to get to this point now. Because not only that, I was doing other things, I was putting myself in places where I didn't feel like I belonged in the first place. And just getting to know people and understanding that there is a greater good here at ENC that needs to be shown. And a lot of that is not being shown now. So just talking to Robert, talking to you, talking to Liz, talking to anyone that was in higher power built me up to be the BSU person. However, it is not where I wanted to be, but I'm still searching and I'm learning from that. Because when you talk about being an intimate love with your own council, with your own people, it makes you learn how to be personal. You have to ask those tough questions, you have to be willing to take that feedback. So if I say something that is rude to Willis, I better be able to take back what she said to me, you know, because what I said to her, sorry. And I just think that it makes me learn how to not only be myself, but to be personal with others too.
So let me this way, the question you're asking is like leadership position roles you've had before and like
How that would benefit you in the macro idea of leading a thesis campus and the micro idea of leading.
so I'll talk about two different roles that I've had. So like for the last two previous years and still now going on today, I've served as the freshman and sophomore class council president. And freshman year was a rough year, I would say, because it was a lot to like go on with, especially like coming into a year of COVID and just like not really knowing what to do yourself, because it's like, how do you serve people who are unmotivated and because their senior year got taken away, and how do you like bring that motivation into people? And I feel like just stepping into the role itself and just trying to get like people active, like I made it a known thing to like, I worked at Hebrews during the night shifts, and I made it a known thing to like just start a conversation with any freshmen that I knew, and just kind of check in to see what they wanted to see from the freshman council and just what they expected from the freshman council, like just coming in and just like pushing for that. And in high school, I served as it was like kind of different, but it's called board president, which is like the entire school president at my high school. And just serving on that like helped me with like leadership, because it's like you get to adhere to so many people, and I would like go to board meetings and like listen to the administrative side of things and then listen to like students feedback. And I feel like a lot of the times like those two things kind of clash, where students want something else and the board is like, well, we can't really give you that. It's like, how are you the board and can't give the students to what they want to adhere? So I feel like sometimes like in that leadership position role, just knowing when to like take the reins and just go out there and really push for what the students want.
KP has a question that is a great follow-up. What do you think, is one of the biggest issues facing students at ENC?
I think the biggest issue overall is equity for me personally, and for others that I've talked to. There's a lot of students here that don't feel like they belong here, and they literally have told me, I'd rather be my girl than be out here. I'd rather be my girl than be at an event, because I even had an event in Hebrews that I was told as a BSU president that you guys are loud. Their music was too loud. This is a public place. So my biggest problem with that is all students should feel like they belong, because they are the student body. Student Med Center is literally called Student Med Center for the students. So that is my biggest thing that I see here. I just want students to feel like they belong, and they feel like wherever they go, they belong in that place, and nobody else should say anything about that. I don't care if you're white, black, Latino, international student, I don't care if you're a commuter, you belong in whatever room you should be in. And that is one reason why I'm really fighting for the intercultural center here. I think that is a space where all students, well, personally, just for people of color and international students, can feel like they belong in a center where it's meant for them. And if that is not possible, then I'll find another way to bring that forward. But that is my biggest concern here at ANC.
So my biggest fear concern at the NC, I think, would be a motivation from students, like talking to the people that I talk to, and just like in a general consensus, I feel like students are worn out. Like I don't know what it is, but it's something where students just have no lack of motivation, and it's like, how do you help someone who just doesn't want to do anything? Like myself personally, like I had to go take myself to go see Brad to like kind of like help with that and like figure out why I wasn't motivated. But like, how do you help other students that don't want to take that first step? So I feel like just being available and making that known to students that like you have places like the Brinkley Center, or even if you don't want to go to the Brinkley Center, you have professors, you have people like Ian Slater, yourself, and other faculty members that are willing to listen to you and help you out with things, even if you don't want to talk to someone at the Brinkley Center. And I feel like just coming from a place of like unmotivation, like it's something that can spread really fast, and just like students themselves, like in the last 3 years, it's been very hard, like taking that transition from like, oh, you have to wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. Or, and then just like going into quarantine, not going into quarantine, and having to spend that time going back and forth between a pandemic and not a pandemic. And I think that's just taking a toll on students. So I think just having kind of like that general basis of like help and resources to help students come from that place of unmotivation to motivate themselves.
I have a question. You guys right now like have focused on like ideas to like voice, the voices of the student body. And that's one side of the job. But I kind of want to hear more on what are your ideas on managing the Exec SGA team, like how you're going to work as a team, supporting every single role, and like overseeing like all the operations that Exec does.
So working with class councils, one thing that I try to do with that class council is at least have individual meetings with all the like different positions in class council to kind of feel what they want from me and how I can help them. So personally, I'll bring up Dakota, who's the chairperson in our council for events. And Dakota is a very busy person because of the nature that he has. So a lot of the times he himself doesn't like get to connect with Kimmy 100% of the time to like work with events. So I'll be like, hey, how can I help you? How do you need me to help you? And sometimes that's stepping in and being like, oh, like I'll do this for you. And like just taking that part away from him to help him with his stress too. Because it's like, although I have to do a lot, he also has to do a lot, and just understanding how we can help each other and like kind of like take that pressure off of each other for a while. And like as a team building exercises, I think like when you have a group of people who know each other, I feel like team bonding is something that you need to start from the beginning, because if you don't start team bonding from the beginning, how are you expected to work with someone in stressful situations?
I believe that being president and managing a team is almost like a sports team. And the president is just a captain. Does not mean there's not any other leader on this team that cannot pick up my role in the day. It just means I can pick up their role. So I think the main thing that I would emphasize that I would do is, for example, if y'all have to make a meeting, anybody like to go for in this meeting? Because we all have to pick up spots. So everybody's not gonna be 100% every day. And if I have to do it, I'll do it. If Ashley has to do it, she'll do it. Whoever's in our, as a team, if I can score 10 points a game, somebody has to put that spot, right? So I think that will help us. And they'll also know that because we are a team, if we're all falling, we're all gonna fall. Like if we're jumping off the cliff, we're gonna jump off the cliff together. We're gonna have to, because if we're missing one piece, it doesn't work. The team is broken. So I think, again, like team bonding exercises are cool. And there are some ideas that I have that I like to do. Like if anybody's been to board, go to board. Like it is a huge team building experience. And it also tests your mental if you do not like somebody on the team, But I think those are something that I really want to do. I believe like if there's an event that Kim wants to do, but she can't do it on that day, all right, maybe the class can do it. Maybe somebody else can do it. It puts everyone accountable, makes everyone accountable for their own actions, but it also helps our team build, because if one is slacking, somebody has to.
Kind of going off of that question, how do you guys plan to manage conflict
like within the team, because it's not gonna happen. We're all gonna go around different places. I'm planning to, manage that.
Personally, I'm a straightforward person. I can't let things linger on too much. I'll give you 24 hours to do what you have to do to deal with it. But if it is starting to affect our full team, where everybody can focus on the one goal that we have, if we're in a meeting for an hour and I can feel the tension, we're gonna stop that meeting and deal with the problem. Because at the end of the day, the next day, there's business that needs to be done. So for me, I don't let drama linger. I can't let drama linger because if it may affect you, it's gonna affect the person next to you, the person next to you. And as a team, we don't have time for that because there's something, remember, it's not about us, it's about the students. So if we can't get us together, we will get the students together. So personally, I feel good, hands-on straightforward, and so, yeah, that's just me. I can't, like, I think personally, like, there's some things you just have to put aside, you know, and there's some things you just can't let it build up either. Your feelings do matter, I'm not dismissing your feelings, but at some point, if you're not gonna talk about it, I decide between you and that person, if you can't deal with it then, and it has to be taken care of at that moment, at that time, because after it's done, and it's flushed, we're moving, and it shouldn't be brought back up after that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think I would like to agree with Tyler in the aspect of like, I'm also the type of person where it's like, I don't like to hold on to things. Like if I have something to say to someone, I feel like it needs to be brought up. And I feel like with that team bonding aspect, I feel like we're not always gonna be on each other's best graces. And like just expressing that, like that someone hurt you or someone said something to you that wasn't okay in that situation, I think is something where it's like, let's acknowledge it and now let's move on from it. It's like you can't acknowledge, until you acknowledge something, you can't move on to something else. And something that like, from being an athlete that is like kind of brought up a lot, especially in like cheerleading, when I did cheerleading, but it was like a very, very big team aspect. Like you're not always gonna be happy with the other 30 people that are on the mat, but like once you step into the office, I would like to think the office as a safe place where like, even if you're upset with someone for other personal reasons, that you can leave those personal reasons behind to come for a consensus together, like to come for a bigger ideal together, because at the end of the day, like you're not only working for yourself, you're working for other people. And how can you expect to do that, like work with other people, like in a consensus to come for other people, if you can't put something aside for a moment to just build a better unity? So I feel like just addressing something head on, being like, hey, like I'm upset with you right now and I need some time, but let's get what needs to get done.
This can be a short one without a lot of explanation. You can take a second to think about it. Imagine a year later, after you've been president for the whole year, you're leaving, you're on your way out, and there was like a caption, and it was like, fill in your name. The president who, and then just like what would be the phrase that is like the legacy of like you, and then the president, the ENC student body president who.
I think for me, it's persevere. The president persevered because being a president is not easy. Not only are a student, you're an athlete, but you are also a person that has your own struggles, your own problems outside of this position. You're also a person that has your own life before you became a president. And as a president, you represent the school and students, also yourself and family back home. So any mistake, somebody can take that and run with it. So for me, I think it would be persevere, because I know I'm not perfect, but I am going to persevere through a problem. It's not, if I get beat up, I'm not going to let anything try to take me down. What's the question?
Your name, the president who, fill in the blank.
I would like to say, I think the president who brought community, because I feel like here at BNC, we have like certain small communities within a larger community, and just like trying to bring like all those aspects of community together, because we have like community aspects of like, oh, you have all these athletes, now you have all these majors. And I feel like, especially in college, like we have so much separation between like, oh, you have the psych majors, you have the chem majors, you have all these different majors, but like at the end of the day, we're all students. Just like coming together as a community to build that community, I think is something that I want to bring to ENC, because it's like with wanting to be alone from like COVID and just being alone for so long, like it's hard to come into an aspect of like community and want to be part of the community. And I feel like if you make people step out of the comfort zone by you personally stepping out of your comfort zone and people seeing that, you can make change.
Yeah.
Any more?
And you guys have been answering them very well. KP said, tell them I said thank you and appreciate their thoughtful responses. I think that's everybody, but it did come through after one of her questions. Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out here tonight to support your friends, support the candidates. If the candidates could just hang back for a couple seconds, we have to go over a couple scheduling changes due to the primaries. But everybody else, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you, everybody on Zoom, KP.